Without further ado, I am going to offer this up to Agnès first. So, maybe if I can stay standing. Yeah. Okay.
I was supposed to be talking to you of the results of 2 European projects I participated in. So the first one was a few meter project, which means food, energy, water nexus meter. So we try to measure the impact of urban agriculture on this nexus. So on food production, energy and water use, and especially efficiency. And then we also added some more indicators, and it was it's began in 2018 and it ended in 2022. Should have ended in 2021, but with COVID we had an extension. And it was a partnership between 5 countries, so Poland, Germany, France, UK, and the USA, with New York City University. Some of you might know Nevin Cohen and Rose, Ilya. Oh, I don't remember. Rosita. Sorry. So we had different sites, some urban farms, some gardens, some collective gardens, different types of collective gardens, what we call in France family gardens, also community farms, community gardens, collective gardens, and also home gardens and school gardens. As you can see, we had a wide diversity. And so it meant 73 sites, which we followed for 2 years. And we worked with farmers and gardeners to evolve a reference where they could enter all their practices. So we would, they would note the irrigation, how much, when, fertilization, but also energy use. Then we would record all the harvest by type, which crop, how much, and then we would translate it from bunch to grams, from lettuce head to grams also. And we also went to each site to record the infrastructure. So to be able to do life cycle analysis, which means converting everything that's been used, from the raised bed to the small houses, anything, into carbon, CO2 equivalent, but also toxicity for the environment, for the water. And we also went and met all farmers and gardeners and had interview with them to record also the practices, how they governed the farm or the gardens, and what their interactions were with that network. And also so all this meant that we were able to measure, forgot. And we also measured in the soils in each site the different nutrients and also pollution, so that we would have something that would be homogeneous and would enable us to compare between all those sites. And so we have a huge database for 2 years of crop and harvest in all countries. Thank you very much. What was I? Oh, yeah, I was just saying, and both projects are all around the city region food systems. As Rhonda said, all about benefits and risk. And yeah, so as Taufik said, we're missing data. So that's what the European projects were about. So this one is the food, energy, water meter. And we wanted to develop an indicator of sustainability of all those initiatives. What happened also during this project was that we were able also to discuss with farmers, to organize forums, and or to show them the results and have interactions. And for example, we had one of the projects where the water consumption was really very high. And so we discussed and discovered there was a leak somewhere, of course, but also the farmer changed his practices and added mulching the year after. And so his water consumption really decreased. So yeah, so this is the map, so you can see where all the sites were. As you can see, allotment plots, urban farms, school gardens, community farms, was quite a wide diversity. And so those are the results that we obtained, and which were published both in scientific articles, but also in the final report, which has been sought out as a very short report of 40 pages with really data that would be useful for practitioners and for public authorities, so that would be easy to read and easy to use it. So as you can see, we found out some harvest and yield. So you can see with differing yields between the individual gardens, collective gardens, and urban farms. We also compared between the countries, of course, and I have to say France was the best. But we also used most of the water. So as you can see, the water use, we tried to look at liters per square meters, and we also had some works that was done on the effect maybe of geography, of the location, on rooftops or not, for example. And we also looked at what kind of water was used. So mainly, for example, in France, mainly municipal water, whereas in Germany, there was a lot of rainwater that was harvested. We also looked at how the people came to the farm and the gardens, whether they used their feet, bicycle, or cars. And so as you can see, there's a real difference between countries. Of course, USA is New York. So inside of New York, the people would use only public transportation. And then we also looked at lots of, so what is the last one? A distance by mode. And we also looked at the benefits, the social benefits that the people working or gardening felt within their hobbies and or the work. And so this also was important. It highlighted really the importance of all those social benefits for different categories. Of course, you would have different things. Some people would find more educations, other well-being, as health, more healthy habits, or what I meant, mental well-being, and lots of network interactions, which would be important. And the second project, which I'm currently in, is a foodie, which doesn't have any meaning at all. I think maybe the coordinator just loved the Wall-E. I've always thought maybe he liked the Wall-E movie. So it's food systems in European cities, and it began in 2020, and it's ending January 2024. And so we're 8 countries, 8 European countries, 23 partners. So it's a really huge project, which is financed by the European Union. And we are looking at different, we look at more broadly than just urban agriculture, at all the initiatives which comprise the city region food system. So we're looking at production sites, transformation, processing, restoration, and distribution. And we're trying to find innovations, whether technical, organizational, or social innovations, and looking how we can learn lessons from those pilots, what we call the pilots, so that we can build a more resilient city region food systems in Europe. So looking at what we call pollination, which means trying to translate things that have been learned somewhere to other cities in Europe. And so the cities we have, so we have 14 pilots in up here, as you can see, the 14 pilots in Europe. So we have several in Bologna, which is a coordinator, but we have some in Spain, as you can see, Canary Islands, which is further south near Africa. We had the one in Svalbard, but it went bankrupt during COVID. So it left the consortium. So we have, as you can see, some high-tech innovation sites like Bleiswijk or Bologna, but also some really low-tech, I would say what they call agricultural parks, like in Sabadell. And some in Ljubljana, it's a hive association which works in prisons, so that the prisoners can learn a new way of life and then apply it afterwards. Yazi, it's restaurants at Zero Waste Initiative, and also works a lot with the local community, very maximum local produces. And Berlin is interesting also because it's reusing the wastewater from the building, evaporating it in the basement, and using it to produce vegetables in the hydroponics. A huge component of this project is also the interaction with inhabitants and citizens. So it's all the pilots, supporting pilots, had been designed before, but there was a huge interactions with inhabitants to make this pilot evolve. So as you can see, there were training education, 500 people, participants in co-design, as you can see. So 1,320 people participated in workshops, hackathons, and all those kinds of events to help the pilots evolve, to make them more adapted to the environment. There we also tried to measure the benefits and constraints of urban agriculture and its participation to the resilience of the city and its sustainability. So we did an inventory of more than 600 initiatives in Europe that we found were innovative and participated in city region food systems sustainability. And then out of these 600, we choose 100 where we went more in detail, looking at finding indicators from the bibliography and measuring it on this 100 and plus initiatives. And we also did some extensive assessment of the 14 pilots. So both the regular life cycle analysis, but also a life cycle cost, which is the economic version of the LCA, and the social LCA. And we compared it with our simplified indicators to develop our own scoring, which, as you can see, the objectives, looking at the objectives of each initiative. So you can see the 100 initiatives where they are. They are mostly, of course, where the partners are. Among the indicators we chose was the sourcing distance, where the inputs come from. And out of it, we have now made a really simplified tool to evaluate the sustainability of these initiatives, comprising both an objective evaluation with 15 indicators, 5 for each pillar: economic, environmental, and social, and a subjective evaluation, which is the experience of the user. So the consumer, which comes into initiatives, also has, I would say, like TripAdvisor or all those things, like experience, both on some questions around economic, environmental, their experience, and the social impact they have. And so you can download the app on your phone, and each time you use it, you can grow into your own level. As you can see, we have the small Terex is a creation of a 8-year-old Italian kid, because we had a contest creating superheroes to make the city more sustainable. And so we had a jury, and the winner was Terex, which we found really fun. And he's now I don't know how you meant, the mascot. Oh yeah, he's now our mascot, and we've made some interactive ebooks, we've made some comics. There's also some YouTube videos around sustainability to make more education and sharing around what is sustainability, how can we promote it from our own side. So what the outcomes were, the Few Meter project was the first one to measure on the large number of situations production and resource efficiency. So for us, it's really T0 database on which we can compare all different kinds of initiatives of urban agriculture production. And it's, of course, it's only for northern countries. I mean, we don't have any measurements on southern countries, which is too bad. For the next project, I guess we should need. For the foodie, we really did the full measurements of the social, economic, and environmental benefits, and also constraints and risk of urban agriculture on those 14 diverse pilots, which was really gave a lot of lessons. And we also came out some simplified indicators, but also we also looked at the policies. In both projects, we looked at the policies, European policies at the regional, national, and even local levels, trying to compare how they impacted urban agriculture and its development. And so there are some fact sheets from the foodie, 7 fact sheets on policies and their impact on, I would say, harmonious urban agricultural development. And we are also preparing a report, simplified reports for different stakeholders for it. And that's it for me.
I'm very glad to be here to share with you some results of our research on urban agriculture and ecosystem services. I will focus on CEMOIR project. This project ran off 2 years to 2018-2010 and involved around 25 researchers of different background. And the aim of this project is to evaluate the ecosystem services provided by urban microfarms and their soil. And another goal is to identify levers for their optimization. And the main goal was to establish a general methodology for ecosystem servicing evaluation. According to the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment, the ecosystem services are the goods and services provided by ecosystem to humans. We can distinguish 4 main categories of ecosystem services that are the cultural services, which I will tell you more about later, and the regulatory services that are water purification, carbon sequestration or erosion, the support service, and the provisioning services like food. And we talk about microfarms, urban microfarms, urban because the microfarms are located in the urban environment, so it could be at the rooftop level or in the ground level, and also urbans because they are linked with urbans. And we talk about microfarms, micro because it's they have often a limited cultivated surface area, and also the production of food is often a support for providing other services like inclusion in the labor market or recreational services, education, and so on. I'm going to speak about the cultural services provided in particular by 5 different microfarms. As you look at the picture, and the farms that are on the rooftop but also in the ground, they have a different surface area, and are all those 5 microfarms located in the Paris region. For the methodology, we assume that cultural ecosystem services that are no materials benefit that people obtain to ecosystem are perceived both by individuals who frequent occasionally or regularly the microfarms, that could be employees, city users, or members of association and so on, but also by individuals who do not frequent the city of these farms, so like residents or passerby and so on. So we would like to understand how the ecosystem services are perceived for both users and no users. So we applied 2 different methodology. For users, we adopted a questionnaire to better understand the cultural ecosystem services and their perception. The cultural ecosystem services that we investigated are well-being, sociability, education, leisure, and also aesthetic and landscape values. And we concern that tourism or spiritual experiences that are cultural ecosystem services, more investigated for natural areas or agricultural areas, is not very concerned to urban agriculture. And we, for the no users, we mobilize a photographic questionnaire because we consider that no users or resident or passerby, maybe they don't know microfarms look like. So we just ask some question, but with some photos in order to have an idea which look like. I present you some results about this survey, and concerning the users, we first ask to them why they frequent the microfarms. So the respondent appreciate most the general atmosphere and the landscape of these microfarms, but also the connection to nature, education, sociability, well-being. So the motivation is related always with cultural ecosystem services. As regard of learning aspect, it's not surprising that the people users refer to cultural practices or also manual practices, so they understand how do-it-yourself some beans, for example, but also 25% of users affirm that they have developed social skills. So someone said that he learned how to be funny, other he understand just to listening skills, on others said be more democratic in decision process making. So it's really interesting that there are these skills that appears by urban agriculture. And they say that learning, like learning by doing, but also learning by imitation the others and sharing skills. Another result that I would like to show you is that concern the landscape perception. So 62 out of 71 people consider the landscape as a motivation criterion for participating to urban agriculture microfarms. And the average value attributed to this landscape is very high. It's to 8.4 in a scale 1 to 10. And other interesting point, according to our opinion, is that when we ask for users what urban microfarms look like, they said or urban farms or a mixed between urban farms and green spaces. So now I present some results concerning no users. First, we would like to understand and ask more about their general knowledge of, about urban agriculture, just to understand which respondent we have in front of. So we noticed that around half of people questioned, so we questioned 300 people, so around 150, they don't know urban agriculture project. So half people know, another half, they didn't know any project of urban agriculture. And the people knows a urban agriculture project, they discover mostly by word of mouth. And concerning urban agriculture types, the community garden and allotment garden are the most mentioned form, followed by peri-urban farms and rooftop garden. It's not surprising that the urban agriculture forms that are the best known are also the ones that they seem to be the most popular. So the most popular landscape that have better note are the community gardens and also peri-urban farms that are appreciated as 7.3 in a scale to 1 to 10. And the rooftop garden landscape produce like a conflicting opinions, but general public is agree that it's important to develop this project because they could enhance end user space. Then also we questioned these users about the urban microfarms that would like to study. So we show some photos about our microfarms. Yeah. And the no users have a moderate appreciation of the external landscape of those farms. And when we ask what they think about these farms and they're useful for greener the cities, only 30% say that it's interesting to develop these farms. But when we show the internal photos of the space, they score up to 85%. And because it's very different also the representation of those farms, because we notice that when we have the farms like the left picture, more on the ground, that are more visible, more noticed, the people say that seems like countryside within the cities. And the other one on the rooftop, they are less known by the general public. They don't know, are not visible, they are not accessible, and they seems like this landscape is more like city nature representation. And the last result that I would like to present is that when we ask to no user if they would like to have a micro farms close to their home, 87% said yes, but 8% said no, because they are afraid about some nuisance of these farms, like noise, insect, animals, and smells. So in summary, we conclude that microfarms provide different cultural ecosystem services by users, like creation and acquisition of knowledge and know-how, appeasement, social bond, relaxation, and also landscape appreciation, but also they provide some cultural ecosystem services by no users, like landscape appreciation and emerging new vision of how to greening the city. So how can the cities could develop? And we identify just a landscape like a lever to optimization of those ecosystem services. And also we notice that largely the general public largely unknown the microfarms, in particular the microfarms developed in the rooftop level. So it's very important to make accessible those places, and also visually, but also share more awareness about those places. And maybe we can develop or maybe should be better. Much for your attention.
Okay, so we are now going to transition to the panel.